There are many different ways to work in the TopSolid sketcher. In this illustration, we're going to review some of the contour functionalities. When I start this function, it's asking me dynamically just what my starting point is going to be. Well, I'm going to start at 0. Now as I pull out my cursor, you can see rubber band information. Near my cursor, you see the approximate XY location relative to the last point you selected. In the middle of the line, you see the approximate length as well as the approximate angle. If I move my cursor down, you see that the cursor changes and there's this little horizontal ticker next to it. This means if you clicked right now, a relationship is going to be added. You can see the relationship is be added by this little visual marker here. I'm going to pull the cursor up. When I get that same little horizontal marker, I'm going to click. It now applied a relationship from here to here as well, aligning the 2 points. I'm going to come up at some angle there, go over here, and now when I come down, I'm going to align my cursor so I get 2 gray witness lines. If I left click now, it adds a relationship between this point and this point horizontally, this point and this point vertically. And now to close this contour, I'm just going to left click anywhere on the contour. Now if I try to move something, those relations are being maintained. Now if I want to delete a relationship, all I have to do is go to my wastebasket and select, for example, the hatch mark that's designating there's a relationship. Now if I try to move this point, it's no longer horizontal. Now I'm going to go back, start a new contour, this time start with rectangular. I'm going to pick that point there, and you can see you have a simple rectangle with 4 relations on it. I can modify this rectangle. For example, if I go to Modify Element and select near the end of one of the segments, I have the option to add a fillet or a chamfer or change from a chamfer back to nothing or whatever. I'm going to say 0.5, hit enter, and I have a fillet. Here I'm going to say 0.5 as well, but instead of typing 0.5, I'm going to borrow the parameter of this one. And by doing so, I've now related both radiuses to each other. For example, if I modify this one and change it from 0.5 to 0.375, they both change. I'm going to go back to Modify Element, and I'm now going to select near the center of this segment. And here you can see a bunch of different tools. One of them is Tangent. Converts a line to an arc. Why not? Or if I undo that, I can say I want a circle and I want it to have a 3-inch radius. You know what? I can select that again and say, you know what? I actually don't want the radius that way. I want it that way. I can go select near the end of it now and go add my fillets, just borrowing the values from the other portions of the sketcher there. Now let's take it a step further. Let's go to Contour, Rectangular. I'm going to drag a rectangle around here. Now I'd like to dimensionally constrain this. If you notice, in the prompt line there's an option called Auto Dimension. I'm going to go ahead and select it. And here you can see the 2 driving dimensions to drive the length and the width of my rectangle. Now it wants to know if I want to add symmetry constraints. Yeah, why not? Now it wants to know where you want to be symmetric along the x-axis. I'm just going to click on the x-axis. And relative to the y-axis as well, I'm going to click the y-axis. Now if I modify any of these values, they're going to be modified symmetrically about my 0. Let's go make another sketch. I'm going to go from here, get my horizontal marker there, up to there, to here, make a simple little L bracket. And I'm going to manually add driving dimensions now. So I'm going to go to my dimension function. I'm going to select this segment here. Notice it comes up as 2 7/8. In the prompt line, when you add dimensions manually, it lets you modify them directly. So I could say, for example, I want this to be 3 1/4. I'm going to add a dimension down here. I'm going to make that 2 1/2. Why not? I'm going to add a dimension here. We're going to make that a 1/2 inch. Add a dimension here. We're going to make that 3/8 of an inch. If I add a dimension here, it comes up yellow. In TopSolid, a yellow dimension means that it's a driven dimension, which means you can't modify it directly, only the geometry can modify it. For example, if I modify my 2 1/2 inch value here to be 3, this value is increased automatically.